Okay, now that we've established why we want to include HES 206 into the associate's degree, and we've established the AAC News LEAP initiative, the essential learning outcomes, the high impact practices, and Michelle talked about the value rubrics. This presentation here will maybe talk about how we can apply those things to maybe a major assignment within HES 206.
I think we're all doing a great job teaching HES 206, but as we put forth this proposal to the Degree Reimagining Committee, they're going to be looking for how does this course meet these AAC and U objectives, the LEAP Essential Learning Outcomes, the high impact practices, and the value rubrics. So I think we're already doing a lot of these things, but we have to, I guess, prove or demonstrate or explain to this committee how we're doing this and how and why HES 206 should be a requirement in the associate's degree. So our goal here is to think about what we're doing and how we can apply these initiatives to a student project. And I've kind of thought about it, and I'll present just maybe one idea that could potentially work.
So this would be a basic outline of a project within HES 206 that could last 4 to 8 weeks towards maybe the end of the semester. And again, this is just an idea, but this is what I was thinking here, and I'll go into each one of these on the next few slides. But the first step would be organize students into diverse groups, and then they will select 2 health units and investigate how those health units interact. And then once they form the groups and select their topic, then they're going to investigate the interaction of these health units through one of the divisions of the liberal arts and sciences perspective. And we've got the humanities, the social sciences, and the math and natural sciences. Then they're going to identify a target audience who they want to present or share this information with. The groups are going to work with amongst each other. They're going to work with you and me, the health professors, and then they're also going to work with their professors in the disciplines they select. And hopefully they're going to work with their target audience as well. And then they're going to share this information with the class, and we can maybe invite the target audience in as well. As we think about this project, the first step we want to do is organize students into diverse groups. Maybe they're from different high schools, maybe they're from different majors. Again, this brings different ideas and different talents to the group. And then the group will select 2 health units and investigate their interaction. So maybe these are my 7 basic units within personal health and wellness, and they're going to maybe pick the interaction between mental health and avoiding addictions. Maybe another group looks at fitness and disease prevention. And maybe another group looks at reproductive and sexual health and how to avoid injuries. Perhaps another group may also select mental health, but this time they're going to look at maybe the role of fitness and nutrition and weight management. So again, this can go in a lot of different directions. This is kind of the exciting thing. And me as a professor, I don't have to lecture on all these topics, but encourage the students to go find the information. So for the first example, maybe students are looking at mental health and addictions, and they're going to now look at this health interaction of these 2 health topics through a social scientist perspective. They'll come up with questions of maybe how does a sociologist think about the interaction of mental health and addictions? How does a psychologist look at mental health and addictions? How does this affect the economy? How does this affect policy and law, perhaps? So some of these questions: what is the drug burden on society? Are there gender or race disparities in the diagnosis or treatment of mental health and addictions? Is there a correlation between social economic status and mental health and drug use? And how does policy and taxation impact mental health outcomes and drug control? So again, these are just some ideas, but these are some big questions that the students can really dig into. And then they can maybe go to those professors in those departments and get some guidance. Again, maybe if you have 4 students, maybe they only pick 2 of those disciplines within the social sciences.
And another example would be how does fitness and disease prevention interact? And maybe we look at this through the math and natural sciences perspective here. So we could look at how does aerobic endurance levels influence glucose and fat utilization for energy in individuals with type 1 diabetes? So we can see maybe some biology and chemistry involved in that. Maybe they can chart or graph different things. Is there a correlation between various modes of exercise and cancer prevention? And why is there a difference in obesity levels in the southeastern United States compared to the northwestern part of the United States? So we can get into some geography into that. How does yoga influence human physiology to foster and reduce stress and to boost the immune system? So again, we can get into some biology, even maybe some chemistry there. What's the relationship between the FIT principle and cardiovascular disease? So again, again, if there's 4 people in a group, maybe they want to look, again, this is the parameters you set. Maybe they take 2, 3, or 4 of those different aspects in the natural sciences. And then for the third example, investigating how does reproductive sexual health impact injury prevention. Maybe we look at this through the fine arts and humanities. So how does religious affiliation impact sexual behavior? What messages do the Billboard Top 40 songs convey about sex and violence? Is there a correlation between the number of hours watching TV or movies and engaging in risky sexual behavior? Debate both sides of the argument requiring the HPV vaccination for all prepubescent girls. Okay, so maybe tie in some history, looking at the history of AIDS and what lessons can we learn from the past to apply today. So again, these questions tie into the LEAP essential learning outcomes, and we can see maybe the knowledge of human cultures and the physical and natural world. So if we look at this, I think these tie in pretty good. Through study of the sciences and mathematics, social science, humanities, histories, language, and the arts, focused by engagement with big questions, both contemporary and enduring.
But the third step would be to identify a target audience. And here are just 5 of them that I came up with off the top of my head. And maybe within each one of these, there's a number of examples. So for a nonprofit organization, maybe the students in one group are going to be looking at sexual health and injury prevention. So maybe they want to reach out to the Domestic Violence Center and to see what are the issues in our community. How can we generate awareness? How can we educate the families that are affected by this? So this could be a whole host of other things. Maybe look at the public service. Maybe we look at the Parks and Rec department and different areas within that. Okay, again, so the students will be in their groups of, let's say, 4 students, and they're going to be working with you, the professor, much like they normally would, maybe in a project you've done in the past, where the students come up with their topic, they get it maybe approved by you, they maybe work with you to really to dig deeper, to maybe prompt some of those questions. Perhaps they're struggling overcoming a hurdle. You as a professor can maybe help them work through that, give us some encouragement and some prompts to move move along. And the students are going to be researching and collecting the information. And again, you're just going to be establishing the benchmarks as we go. But this is where we tie in some of those high impact practices here. Again, if the students are looking at the interaction of two health topics through maybe the math and natural sciences perspective, maybe it sets some parameters where, after talking to your colleagues in those departments, where the students would maybe have to set up maybe 3 10-minute meetings over the next 3 to 4 weeks, where the students are going to maybe the math professor to talk about how to analyze statistics. Maybe they're going to the geography professor and maybe helping them analyze what a map might display about different trends. And maybe those professors and those disciplines can point the students to some scholarly resources that are useful, or maybe help them think about the interaction of these health topics from a different perspective. And then again, the students may interview or interact with their target audience in the community. Again, this pulls in some of those high impact practices. So again, our work as the professor may not be upfront lecturing during a class period, but maybe it's checking in with these groups. Maybe it's making those connections into the community and informing the community members of what your class is doing. So that's, again, how maybe some of these high impact practices come into play, is where these students have this common experience in their first, maybe second year in their undergraduate degree, their collaborative assignment and projects, and it's tying into the community.
So we tie in all those AAC&U initiatives. We got the LEAP outcomes, we got the high impact practices, and what Michelle talked about was those value rubrics. So, how are the students learning? This would be an example of the inquiry and analysis value rubric. And the nice thing here is that some students may be starting here. There might be some other students, depending on their background, they might be starting here. And the goal is we don't necessarily have to move all the students to the capstone level. Ideally, by the time a student gets their bachelor's degree, they would be here at the capstone level. But within the 2-year colleges, that is not necessarily our goal. Some students might achieve that, but maybe it's moving them from a 1 to a 2 or a 3. And again, we don't have to do all of these. Maybe within my topic, we're doing the topic selection. Maybe we'll look at these 4.
So in conclusion, as we put forward this proposal to the Associate's Degree Reimagining Committee, I think we're positioning ourselves, our department, to be a leader within the UW colleges as we look at this. And the UW colleges is a leader in the UW system as far as assessment. And the UW system is really a leader in the nation as far as being on board with the AAC&U initiatives. The UW system was the first institution to join the LEAP initiative in 2005. So that's pretty exciting. If we can document how we're applying this current research by the AAC&U, we're putting the student-centered teaching, we're more able to document student learning. This is what the Degree Reimagining Committee is looking for. I think if we can do this, we'll be more relevant in the new associate's degree if we have a required health component to it that will help maintain our enrollments. And ultimately, we want to improve the health status of our students.